Today we'll talk about inflation, recession, what that means. Before I start, I want to tell you a quick story about depression and communism. So we are living through very serious times, very dangerous times right now. And I want you to know that no matter how difficult things look right now with growing inflation, unfortunately, and hopefully I'm wrong, but it may come a time where inflation is going to be the least of our problems. Now, I'm hearing talks about food rationing. Not sure whether that's going to come to pass. Hopefully not, but I'm aware that not many people watching this or alive today have had any experience with what food rationing looks like, what it is, how it feels like, what that looks like in the day-to-day life. Unfortunately, or luckily, I've had this experience in my own life I wanted to share with you, so you are mentally prepared for the worst case scenario if it were to happen. So if there's any preparation you need to make in advance, I'm hoping that this video is going to help you. So I'm going to draw from my own experience as a child living in communism, living in communist Romania. I still remember how it felt, how it was like, and hopefully we're not going to be living those times ever again on this planet in any country. But back in the communist Romania, food rationing was a day-to-day reality. There was nothing else but food rationing. So I'm thinking that it's a good idea for me to share with you this experience. It sort of used to be traumatic, but not anymore because I worked through it, so I can openly speak about it. And I'm hoping I can help people by sharing my experience. I find very important to help with this information to help cope what's about to go down in the near future. Hopefully not, but I mean, if worse comes to pass, I'm hoping you'll be prepared. So, communist Romania, we had a dictator or a tyrant back in the day. This person was called Ceausescu, or people like to call him Ceausescu, but his real name was Ceausescu. And he was killed in December 1989 by firing squad. So that's how he met his death. I was born in 1980. I'm 41 now, and I'll be 42 this year. So until 1989, when this communist regime ended, as a child, I went many times to buy food, and my parents trusted me to go and do shopping, grocery shopping. But grocery shopping back in the day in communist Romania doesn't look like anything today in terms of the grocery shopping people do today. Let me give you some examples of how food rationing was looking like in communist Romania, so you have an idea what that means. So you would not have grocery shops like you are aware of them today. You would not have many places to buy food from. You would have literally a handful of designated places where people would go to buy food. Each family would have a food card. That was a little piece of cardboard, and you would present this card each time you would go to this designated place to buy food from, and that card would tell you how many members in the family, so how many adults, how many children, what age, and then based on that card and the number of people in the family, you as an individual would be granted by the government. So back then, the Communist Republic of Romania, you would be granted a certain number of breads. Actually, for a child, you would not get a full bread, you would get half a bread. So the person selling the bread would actually cut a bread in half, and they would give you half for one child. So you'd get one bread per adult and then half a bread per child under a certain age. So that's just the bread, okay? Milk would basically be very hard to come by. And I remember there were queues for milk. There were queues that would start early in morning, so AM hours. So for example, there were people who would queue for milk from anytime 1, 2, 3 a.m. and then the milk would be delivered at 7 a.m. in the morning. And if there was winter outside, it was whatever weather conditions, people would still queue to get the milk. And then the milk was not for everybody. This is not something that you would get on your ration. The milk would not be something on your ration. You would have to actually queue if you wanted. This was like an extra, and it was very rare to come by, and you had to make a lot of sacrifice to actually get. Now, in terms of staples, so you would literally have rice that you could buy rice. In terms of meat, you would only see like meat that would be literally just the bone, and even so basically you would make a broth with it. You could not really make a grill with any of the meat you would find in these places to buy food. So literally, basically it's scarcity. Scarcity is the way I would describe the whole experience. The only thing I could buy would be rice. With the ration card, I could buy bread, I could buy rice, I could buy cooking oil, maybe I could buy wheat, and And in terms of anything else, literally, as I was saying, meat, just the bones, if even that. So you can't really actually have protein, like a meat source of protein, that would be like non-existent. You would not find that anywhere. The thing I remember is just the feeling of scarcity. So for example, you would not have vegetables and fruits, like a diverse number of vegetables and fruits. You would have the bare minimum. So maybe you'd have carrots and you'd have onions, and one type of them, it's like, you know, red onions and white onions, or, you know, any assortments. You'd have one type of legumes, one type of vegetables. I remember very vividly that I could only see one type of apples. So forget about, you know, jazz apples, pink lady apples. I mean, the things I only found when those things I only found when I arrived in the UK. I was not even aware such varieties exist. But back in the day, there were only one type of apples. They were not very tasty, and you literally either bought them or on a ration cards, or, you know, there were no other fruits, literally. You had no strawberries, you had no, like, nothing exotic. I mean, just to give you an example, bananas and kiwi and oranges is something that I've seen for the first time after I was 9 years old. So from 9 years old, after the communist regime fell, and we had a long economic transition period, we started getting some exotic fruits like citrus, like kiwi, bananas, oranges, so on and so forth. And I can't tell you how big the queues were for this kind of fruits. All right, so what I want you to take away from this is that if rationing comes to be a reality, even for a short period of time in the near future, you really want to have reserves. I mean, even if food rationing is not going to be a reality in the next period, although that would be surprising, looking at how things are progressing right now with the shortages, with the supply chain problems, so on and so forth. So even if there are no food shortages in the next period, the mere fact that we have this huge increase in inflation and we are entering or already are in a recession, and it looks like to be a depression in majority of countries in the world, it is good to think ahead and prepare for any issues to do with food, any possible food shortages, food rationing. Some governments may look at food rationing. If given a hard choice between two difficult options, I don't see how some countries would not look at food rationing as a temporary solution. So, I mean, after we've lived what we've lived through a couple of years ago, right now I won't be surprised of other scenarios coming through, scenarios that we've never thought we will be facing in our lifetime. So for this reason, having had the experience with what happened 1 year, 2 years ago, I'm telling you, if there are food rationing plans, if inflation is going to go up, the kind of reality I've described earlier, I'm hoping it's not going to be that drastic in our countries respectively, but that's what food rationing looks like. It's basically scarcity all over the board, and it's a very poor quality of life, because you have to think about it. We get our strength and stamina and our health, we get that from food, from nutrition. And without diversity of food, with a lack of food, of the basics that we need, with rationing and all that, I don't know how that future is going to look like. I'm even more concerned for the foodies out there, you know, like myself. You know who you are. I myself, I like to indulge. I like to taste food, enjoy food. It's one of the pleasures I have in life, and I'm really concerned of the prospect of getting through a reality where food shortage or food rationing may be the new norm. All right, I think we spent a lot of time on this. I just wanted to give you an idea that some people have experienced food shortages and food rationing, and if you have friends who have lived in East Europe during communism, so Romania, Poland, Bulgaria, so on and so forth, it's good to make friends with them. It's good to talk to them, ask them what their experience has been like. Maybe you can learn from that, and maybe you can prepare better because you had the information, okay? If you enjoyed this, I have a few other videos you might like. I have a playlist I've created, which is called Work That Money, has valuable videos in it. I suggest you check it out. I'm going to link this up. I also have a number of videos in a playlist about personal transformation. I suggest you check this out as well. I'm gonna link these two up, and if you enjoyed this video, please share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in one of my next videos soon. Take care for now.